Hey, it's Irreverent Aegis here, and in this video I want to show you an incredibly simple way to get the Pure Lunacy Trifecta achievement in Moonhunter Keep. That is, the hard mode, speedrun, and no death all in one. The idea behind this strategy is that I am incredibly lazy. Not just in video games, but in real life too, so I always try to come up with ways to minimize the amount of work I personally have to do to accomplish the things I want to accomplish. So when I was thinking about how to go and get Pure Lunacy, I was thinking about Vicos's execute phase from 30 to 0% when all hell breaks loose, and how difficult it is for me as the tank to grab everything to minimize my group members' chances of dying. Great tanks, of course, can do this themselves without dying, but I like to think of myself as a good tank, not a great tank. In my opinion, I fill the gap between being a good tank and a great tank by being a great strategist, as well as being a vocal dungeon leader. Anyway, prior to coming up with this new strategy, we had tried a burn strategy with 3 DPS and a quote-unquote safe strategy with the traditional 2 DPS and 1 healer. Those were both fine for getting the hard mode and speedrun, but neither was really getting the job done for the no death, at least not consistently enough where we thought, hey, this will be easy. Then I realized that we didn't really need a full-blown healer. As far as healing went, I just wanted a couple of hots and a blood altar. What I really wanted out of the other support was Symphony of Blades, Sax Eels, and another buff set. Not only that, but I wanted my job to be easier. So I said, D-Rec, respec your Warden as a tank. Put Sax Eels on the body, MA on your weapons and jewelry, and Symphony of Blades as your monster set. I figured we could pair that with my Arcasis and Drake's Rush, and we'd have just about 100% uptime on Major Force and Major Slayer for the entire dungeon, or at least whenever we wanted it. Many hours later, D-Rec finally had a Warden tank, but he only had the right pieces for Powerful Assault, so we just rolled with it. And with that, 2-tank Strat was born. You heard that right, we have an off-tank for a dungeon. For this next boss, the main strategy is we want to make this as quick and painless as possible, so usually we try to burn him past the first 2 regeneration phases, so we try to burn him to 55%. And then after that 55%, we try to burn him from 55 to 0 without him having to go through a regen phase. So of course we drop all our ults here, and what we didn't expect is that we'd actually push him all the way to that 35% regen, which is kind of annoying because that means there are like 1 million Spriggans to destroy. So I'm going to speed this up so we don't have to worry about watching all of this, because there's so many Spriggans regenning him. So then we finish that up finally. And then once that's up, what happens? Well, we simply execute him very easily from 35 to 0. Really nothing much to worry about for the no death. I just need to face the boss away from the group for when that conal comes out, and I need to personally just, not get destroyed by the heavies. I also call out the roll dodges when people get hit by his vines. But other than that, pretty straightforward fight. Now, because we have 2 tanks, for the next couple of ad pulls, we just split up the load because why not? So I'm going to taunt that wolf and everything on the right. He's going to grab everything on the left. And, cool. Then here, same thing. I'm going to grab everything on the right. He's going to grab everything on the left. Again, makes it easy. No inadvertent heavy attacks on our DPS. So super easy so far. Since the major nerf to this dungeon, this fight became even easier. Before, it was a little bit of a challenge to get the achievement where you don't kill any shock wardens. Now it's pretty much expected that my group just straight up burns this boss, which is a lot easier because we have one of our tanks wearing Sax Eels, so pretty much we're going to get 100% uptime on that major force here. At around 70 to 60%, somewhere in there, everyone else drops their ultimates, and we're going to burn Mylan Mooncaller all the way down to 0 pretty rapidly. The DPS are pretty much just going to keep moving at this point so they don't get hit by the lightning splashes. And again, it helps that we have a Warden in the group because that gives us the maturation for the extra health as well as the major resolve. So that makes that even easier, which is why we chose to have our off-tank be a Warden. Next up, we have a bunch of trash pulls. It's mostly important that you do all the trash pulls, so you have to go right through that first room to make sure you get that hulking werewolf, because you need to kill everything for the achievement. Other than that, me and my off-tank just split up the load, so for example, in this next room, I am going to grab the hulking werewolf, and he is going to chain in all of the archers. Good teamwork there. Makes it really easy. Again, I don't need to do much because we have 2 tanks. if you are going to try the 2-tank strat for Pure Lunacy, I recommend just being vocal about who's grabbing what, or just let the off-tank do nothing throughout the fight until the final fight. That way nobody gets confused or doesn't grab something that's supposed to be grabbed and ruin the fight. Just like the last boss fight, this boss fight got a major nerf. Not that it was hard before, because you could use the burn strat before. Now it's even easier, as they nerfed the hulking werewolves, and now you can hold them close to the boss without them getting enraged. Just to be safe, we decided to kill them first. We didn't need to. Most of the time we just run up to the boss, poke him, and ulti dump him, and he dies pretty quickly. But here we said, you know, we're going for Pure Lunacy, we might as well play it really safe. So I'm going to poke the boss. We're all going to drop our ultimates around 80%. And then once we do that, I'm going to take the right staircase, the off-tank is going to take the left staircase, and we're just going to let our DPS alone doing their things, and nothing can get in their way because we're just going to group up the adds on the stairs where we stand. So you see it's super easy. The boss is at about 30% when these guys even start coming out, and then he dies, so super quick, super easy, nothing to it. The final boss hard mode is what 2-tank strat was really designed for. I'm going to make a skill change and put on Blood Altar, that way the other tank has access to an easy burst heal if necessary. He is going to be on Vicosa the entire fight. That job is the easier of the two jobs. He parks himself at the top, holds aggro on Vicosa, and blocks her heavy attacks. That's pretty much it. You'll see me shooting Ice Bolt at different quadrants of the room. All I'm doing is assigning our team members quadrants for when we hit the 30% execute, as that is when you get the shapes or colors one-shot mechanic. As you probably know, a few seconds after you hit 30%, the boss from the previous room appears in the middle of the arena and starts cycling through the different shapes. Eventually the cycling will stop and everybody has to stand in a circular pad under the matching shape in order to avoid instant death. However, sometimes there are only 3 pads with a matching shape. The 4th safe pad will be glowing but will not have a shape above it. We assign quadrants because it allows everybody to focus on one area of the room rather than have a free-for-all, which can easily result in an unnecessary death. So let's say someone is assigned the upper right quadrant and the correct shape is square. If that person sees 2 squares in his quadrant, he simply calls out 2 squares upper right, and that lets someone who doesn't have a square in his quadrant know where to go. Also, if someone has the empty pad in his quadrant, he should automatically grab it so there is no confusion, as it's harder to see the empty pad from across the room. Now I'm going to walk you through my job as the tank who isn't holding Vicosa. You'll see I grab Aerie and pull her all the way up to the top, that way it shortens Zell's chain. That way Zell can't really do anything. As soon as Aerie goes down, I taunt Zell, and our DPS take down Zell. My job here is simple, I just don't die. After we kill Zell, what we do is we move to Vicosa and push her to 90%. We have plenty of time to get this trifecta. We have 30 minutes and we got here in like 15 minutes. So I have plenty of time. We can just heavy attack, build resources. We don't really want to push phases too quickly here, as you get more mechanics at 85%. So we push to 90%, and then I go down here and drop a Fear Totem or another crowd control, depending on what type of tank I am, pick up the 2 werewolves, and our DPS kill them. Nothing to it. Then we push Vicosa to 85%. At 85%, we're going to get 3 more werewolves. So again, I'm going to throw down my Fear Totem or crowd control, whatever I have. 3 werewolves are going to come down, and it's my job to chain them in rather quickly, or at least taunt them so that way they don't go after our DPS. They're pretty much not going to kill me, but their heavy attacks, their jumps, can kill a DPS as a one-shot. So pretty much at that phase, I'm just going to grab all 3 of them. Now we're going to push the boss to 80%, and as soon as we get to 80%, I'm going to grab Aerie and pull her back up top, just like I did the first time, to prevent Zell from doing anything. One thing that's important to note here is that it's very important that we don't push phases too quickly, because this is a slow, easy, and controlled fight with 2 tanks. When we push phases, that's when things go a little crazier, and it ruins the safety net that we have from going slowly. So this is an intentionally slow burn right here. So again, we're killing Zell, and now again, we're simply going to build up all our resources, so we have full resources, and we're going to push Vicosa to 70%. Again, not worrying about time, because we got here so quickly. We might as well have full resources for every phase, because there's no reason not to. At 70%, we get 2 more werewolves, so again, I go with the crowd control, and I taunt or chain them in. The stranglers come in around the outside at 70%. They're pretty much not going to do much unless you go near them, so if you go near them, you see they wake up. But we pretty much ignore them. And again, now we're going to push to 65. And when we push to 65%, we're going to get 2 extra werewolves. They're going to be right by the entrance. So the location of them is right by the entrance, so I'm just going to go over there, grab both of them, put down my crowd control, and we're going to kill them again very quickly. I can ulti dump whenever I want here, because since I'm wearing Arcasis and Drake's Rush, I'll pretty much get my ultimate back whenever I want it. So now we're going to push to 60%, and again, slow and controlled, we push to 60%, Zell and Aerie pop back up, and we rinse and repeat. One thing I make sure to do, since this is a pretty relaxed fight, is throw out a Blood Altar every once in a while. That way the tank holding Vycosa, again, has that little bit of safety net, just in case he takes a little too much damage from a bleed or from a heavy attack that he blocks, or whatever. It's pretty much just an instant burst heal back up to full. Again, just for a little safety net, as we don't want to ruin the no-death component of this run. Once we push Vycosa to 50%, that's when we start getting Shock Wardens. The first Shock Warden at 50% is going to be right by the entrance, and we're going to get a couple of werewolves to go with that Shock Warden. So I go over here, drop my Fear Totem, grab the 2 werewolves, and we kill the Shock Warden. We also killed the 2 werewolves, and then we're going to do something that we're used to doing, which is waiting around and doing nothing. Because if we wait long enough, another Shock Warden is going to come out on a timer on the top. So we're just going to wait here for that Shock Warden to come out. And there it is. So we're going to start damaging the Shock Warden, and we're going to kill the Shock Warden, and our tank that's holding Vycosa is going to drag Vycosa through the Shock Warden's puddle. That way it unenrages her. So once we do that, we burn Vycosa to 45%. Because at that 5%, we're going to get a Shock Warden over on this side, as well as another 2 werewolves. So again, I grab the 2 werewolves, lay down my Fear Totem, pull them in, and again, we can ulti dump if we want to, because we have plenty of time to rebuild ultimate. So then that happens, and now we're going to push to 40%. So at this point, I'm a little lower on resources, so I told my group, slow down a little bit, I want to have full resources for this next phase. So we get to 40%, and then we get a repeat on Zell and Aerie. As you watch us kill Zell and Aerie and then push Vycosa to 30%, I want to go over what we do once we hit 30%. As I talked about, we assigned quadrants in the beginning of the fight to deal with the shapes and colors mechanic that happens shortly after we push to 30. So everybody knows their quadrants, and once we push to 30, we're going to get a Shock Warden in the bottom left quadrant and the bottom right quadrant, as well as 2 werewolves, which are going to spawn at the entrance and in the bottom left quadrant. My job as the tank who isn't holding Vycosa is to go taunt the Shock Warden in the bottom left and the 2 werewolves, and I'm going to pull them into my bottom right quadrant. The reason why I want to do that is because the bottom left DPS is going to kill the Shock Warden, and when the Shock Warden dies, it drops a huge puddle, and we do not want that puddle to be in the shapes that that person can be standing, because then that DPS won't survive the shapes phase. So you can see, I pull that Shock Warden a little closer over here, and that puddle forms, and now it's not blocking. I don't care if the puddles are on me, I'm a tank. You'll see we have the square. I call out that I have 2 in the bottom right quadrant, and then the top right quadrant had the empty one as well as the other one. So we did that perfectly. Now everyone's going to ulti dump the boss. At 25%, we're going to get more Shock Wardens, more werewolves. At 20%, Zell and Aerie are going to be off their chains, and we're going to get more werewolves. And I'm simply going to go taunt everything as soon as I can, pull them away from Vycosa, so that way it's an easy execute on Vycosa. And there you go, that is the easiest possible strategy that I can think of for Pure Lunacy, the 2-tank strat. If you enjoyed this video, please like it and leave a comment, and feel free to subscribe to my channel.